What's up, everybody? That time of the day, that time of the week, that time of the month.
Yes, it is.
You're listening to the good,
The band.
the ugly. I'm Big Papa.
I'm just Jeff.
Just Merry Christmas, Jeff.
Yes,
Look at that. Our Christmas episode.
it is.
Hence the very expensive prop,
Yeah,
the Christmas lights.
this is, yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And these will go back to the dollar store because they say my receipt. How you doing, brother?
Awesome, dude. You?
Good. Christmas shopping done?
Yes, complete.
What'd you get me?
That necklace.
Give me the dollar right now. I will take it. You lying son of a bitch. Yeah. All my
Anyway.
Christmas shopping is done,
Good.
and everything else is all stacked up.
Good.
Yeah. We have a very good show.
Yeah.
A great show because we've been chasing this artist all around for almost a year now to try to nail down the time and
Yeah.
the date for this. So I'm not even going to beat around the bush. Let's just bring
No sense in it.
Cathy Rankin and her posse.
There you go.
Her posse.
Her posse.
So
One.
we've got Cathy Rankin, we've got John Bronson, as in Charles Bronson, and then
Kentucky.
wherever Kentucky, Ken Mary.
There he is.
Mary.
How you doing, brother?
How you doing, man?
This is good.
Doing well. How are you? How are you today?
We are great. We've been looking forward to this. Cathy and I talked a little bit when we met out in NAMM last year. That's the show that you don't go to
Yeah.
because you're.
Let's roll on.
I'm not going to say you're afraid to fly.
Whatever.
That would be rude.
I don't care.
He didn't go last year, as he should have. But it's great. Some of the people that you do associate with are a lot of people that we've associated with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the story and everything is really cool. And your single just came out. Now You've Gone. Now You're Gone. Yes.
Yes.
You've gone.
You've Gone. Yes. Now You've Gone. And Jeff and I listened to it.
Yeah.
We loved it. And we just wanted to kind of touch base, talk to you a little bit about how that came together. Because, as we've spoken, you're not a band
Per se.
but you're a collaboration of some great musicians with some great paths. So let's jump in.
Yeah.
Cathy, what inspired the song that you just released?
Well, it's a couple things. I am a huge Rush fan, which pretty much everybody who knows me knows that. And when Neil Peart passed away, I, like so many people around the world, avid Rush fans, was very impacted and just had a real emotional reaction to it. And I remember I was sitting at my desk, and I think I called him, and I was just sobbing. And it was the weirdest feeling because, it's not like I ever met Neil Peart. I had met Geddy and Alex on their last tour, and I knew on that last tour that this was probably the last time those three were ever going to perform live together. But just to hear that Neil was gone, it just felt like this huge void, not just in music, but just, they were such a part of my growing up. And the Rush fan community is a very avid community. So I knew a lot of other people were feeling the exact same thing. And long story short, I've been writing poetry my whole life, and I sat down and wrote a poem about it. Not right away, but probably a few months later, and told John about it. during the pandemic, we were messing around with doing some acoustic stuff, and I started thinking about turning some of my poems into songs. But I just don't have I didn't think I knew how to do it. I don't have that kind of experience. I haven't released anything original prior to this, but I knew eventually as an artist I wanted to. So along came Ken Mary, who's been friends with John for over 30 years. And I happened to get a call to interview him for his phenomenal double vinyl Fifth Angel album. And we did the interview, found out we were both Rush fans, and he said, hey, if I can ever help you with something in the future, let me know. And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I have this poem I've written, and since you're a Rush fan and I'm a Rush fan, I thought maybe you could look at it and some of the other stuff I'd written too, and just tell me if I'm in the ballpark, if I should just quit and stick to my regular job. And Ken was very gracious, and that got the ball rolling. And then lucky for me, he was willing to actually help collaborate specifically on this song. And he seemed to really like the concept. And it just happened very organically after that. And
cool.
We brought David Ellefson in, which was really cool. John did the guitars. And I just thought, wow, I am very, very blessed to have my first original single have such amazing musicians on it. And Ken is not just a great drummer, he's a phenomenal producer. So I was lucky.
It's definitely a nice thing for Ken to commit to 5 more songs. That is incredible. And we'll make sure to mention that to Dave when Dave's on in a couple of weeks. That's incredible.
Dave is already committed to a full album, so just make sure you bring that up with him and just say, it is a verbal contract. I think in Arizona, it's the law.
Well, okay, and we could probably get him to say something like that through editing.
I think you're right.
Oh yeah. There you go.
For a life supply of coffee and
Yep.
Yeah, we'll whisper it and then we'll see. You'd agree, correct? And he nods. It's good. All over.
It's good.
You can get his car if we do it right. Yeah.
Maybe you don't want his car.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
John, what's your history musically?
Well, I wanted to be a drummer as a youngin'.
Sorry,
but
I've been there.
Yeah,
I was a drummer for 30 years myself, so
I thought that was the answer to the whole world.
Yeah,
no.
Ken's like no. First in to the gig, last out of the gig.
Yeah,
it's the worst of all possible worlds.
And hating the singer,
really is.
Hating the singer with every fiber of your body because they walk in 3 seconds before sound check and then they leave moments after the last note comes out of their mouth.
Yeah, we have had a few little fights over that.
Yeah, that's why I after 35 years total of drumming, I switched to be the front man, and now I just show up like that.
Yeah,
and
I notice a lot of drummers are secretly wishing they were the front man. Almost, I'd say about 98% of them I've played with wanted to be a singer or a front man of some sort.
You spend 30 years sitting behind staring at the rest of your bandmates' ass all night, and that's nothing great about it, especially if it's hot out.
Yeah.
And it's so physically demanding. There's no way to phone it in.
No.
If you're tired or whatever, you're still working. I mean, there's no way to do the gig.
Right.
I can practice our gigs asleep. Probably have.
Click track or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's funny because it doesn't matter if you're, you can be the best at it.
Yeah.
And
then
there's some things like sport, like golf, you practice, and then
right.
you make less strokes and it seems effortless. Drummer, you could suck or you could be great, and you're still going to just put everything you have out there. So, right there, Ken.
I am glad it didn't work out correctly.
Wow, we're making Ken feel great.
There's got to be guys like Ken that are willing to do it.
Yeah. No, I love interviewing drummers. Some of our best interviews have been with drummers.
Some have,
because we know the struggle.
Yeah.
And but being the singer's not the greatest thing either, because if you're having a shit night, you can't just play your music and not. You have to interact.
It's a lot of pressure.
No, you can't hide. Yeah, you can't hide.
Right.
There's a lot.
You got the sniffles as a guitar player. You could just sit over there and sweat it out. And,
Totally.
But as a singer,
done that.
You have to get the angry father look from your guitar player if you fuck up the words, and he kind of looks over at you and just goes like,
every time.
Shut up. I made every song I sing is an original when I get done with it. So.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, we're gonna go with that. We made it my own. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so you're playing guitar, Ken. You're playing drums. Life changing moments when you pick up your instruments. I'm sure. Do you do anything besides the music, or do you go right into it?
As far as
who are we talking to?
Well, we'll start with John, and then Cam will go to you. So you okay. At what age did you start playing guitar, and did you decide that was what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I probably started around 10 or 11, and then kind of started taking some lessons a little bit around 12. My mom got me it was crappy. It was almost like a classical style, but it was an acoustic. I remember it was like red, probably $5.
The Sears and Roebuck.
It wasn't even that good.
Oh,
wow.
Jeez.
Then I remember the day, I think it was 7th grade, I got a little guitar and amp, $69, knockoff Les Paul, and then I had a little PD amp like that, but tiny.
Oh yeah.
Believe it or not.
The Les Paul.
No, I had an amp like that. It was a PV Audition 20.
Mine was smaller than that. It was a Decade, I think, or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe I was backstage. Yeah.
You still use that, though, don't you?
Started playing a little bit, and then something, I don't know, it just kind of clicked once I could do it. Once I got through the pain.
Yeah.
And then I stuck to it. My ADHD kicked in, and I was able to focus on one thing for 8 hours a day.
You still got that ADHD?
Yeah, terribly. Terribly.
Totally.
So, yeah, it's weird how
Cathy's like, oh, yeah, he does.
We didn't have distractions like we have today, though. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do it with the computers and, everything kids have today.
Right.
There's no way. I would have been running all over the place doing stuff instead of sitting there for long.
We didn't have computers. We had pot.
I didn't do anything.
They just said he's a hyper kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, just give him pot.
Just give him pot. It'll be fine.
Look at me. I turned out okay.
Prescription drugs. But
yeah.
Ken, how about you?
No, I don't have glaucoma, if that's what you're asking.
No, I knew he was going to run with
there's
this.
There's a severe epidemic in Arizona right now, which is kind of weird, but yeah, I don't have it. No, when I started, there's an old adage that says, you don't pick the instrument picks you. In my case, it really was true. When I was in school, I was banging with pencils and on pots and pans and whatever. So teachers used to take things away from me. And then when you I think in public school, you used to, I guess there's a music class you could take, and they would ask you, what instrument do you want to play? And it was like, duh. Like everybody knows, you've been taking pencils away from me for years. So we're gonna play drums, and then it just kind of snowballed and morphed into this weird thing that basically engulfed my entire life.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's really not.
And I wish parents would focus more on the arts than sports.
Yeah.
Because you could learn to play guitar. You can learn to play guitar and drums, and you can be a musician or find your niche somewhere in that, whether it's engineering or sound or even costuming, whatever. But there's some people that they're never going to be that basketball player. And the parents are like, look at little Jimmy. No, Jimmy sucks. Get him out of this now. The kid's got 2 left feet.
And the other thing about sports too is, it's really a very limited time where, it might be to, 30 or 35, it's rare that you'll see a player go beyond 35, and music you can play for your entire life. So I think there are a lot of advantages to music. The only thing I would say, there is a song that I like to sing. It's a country song that says, "Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be drummers." I'm gonna stick with that one. Actually.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, you have to give. This is to all the parents of drummers out there.
Oh,
because I know. I know. Guitar player. If you're playing electric, put your headphones on. Go in your room, practice. If you're a singer, go out in the backyard and sing. Yeah. If you're a drummer,
forget it.
Your parents are either committed or they're going to be committed.
Yes.
Into the wacky.
I do have to tell a really cool story. When I was growing up, we had a next door neighbor, and she must have been like 150 years old or something. And I was practicing in the garage, and she came out, and my first thought was she's going to yell at me. I'm probably like maybe 12 years old or something. And she came out and she ran out, and I'm expecting the worst. And, it's just, I mean, she was a very nice, old lady. And she comes out and says, you know what? You just keep playing those drums, And I mean, think of how weird that is. Like, how freaky is that? I'm in my garage banging away. It's louder than crap all over the neighborhood. And she comes over and encourages me. Like, would that ever happen today?
No.
That's kind of cool.
No. They'd be
That's
calling
kinda
the cops.
The cops would show up, and you'd be in trouble because you hurt some kid's eardrums and can't grow up to be a senator. That's very cool. It's, I had luckily my father, as soon as he would get home, was like, oh, rehearsal's over, Dad's home. But mom would set, and you could see this now.
Yeah.
My mother to this day, when we still play, has never missed one show.
Oh,
she has come to every show I've ever played. No, I take that back. She didn't play the Speedway.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
that was just the one.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. But she and my father has never sat through a whole show. He gets there, he drops her off, he leaves, and then he shows up 10 minutes before it's over. And then what's he do?
This is his father. Let's say our show ends at 11. Well, he's there like this.
10:55. And he's pointing at his watch, showing me. I'm like, really?
And so Mike's like, we got one more song. And his father's like hell you do.
No. The band's like,
pal.
Your dad wants us to stop. I'm like, dude, the bar's paying us. Shut up. So mom would sit on the stairs all through some of the worst cover tunes that we've ever done, and some of even worse originals back in the day of. This is before Anthrax, and this is before the stuff that we started covering. But it was terrible. God bless you. So all parents of drummers and any musicians out there, thank you for putting up with all of us for the years that you do. And we couldn't do it without you. And that also goes for wives and husbands that deal with music now. That are like,
now they do.
Really? What are you, 12 years old? I want to have my band in the basement.
Yep.
But honey, I can afford a house now.
I can afford a house. It's fine.
That's the reason we bought this house. It had a studio in the basement.
Yep.
Yeah. Cathy, how about yourself? What brought you to the music aspect of things?
Well, I was an actor first, and I actually was in business and marketing out of college. But I grew up in a family. My grandfather was a big band musician. And he played a lot of instruments, and so I was around music. And my mom played a little bit of piano. My grandma was a violinist. So and then my sister was a drummer. She was back in the '80s. She played in a pretty popular band here in Arizona, some original heavy metal stuff, which was kind of unusual for female drummer back then. And so I was exposed to music a lot as a kid, and I always loved it. And of course, part of acting, your voice is just another instrument. And so I actually got kind of into the music thing. I always knew I wanted to do it, but I was a bit shy about it. And I was doing a film with some name actors, and I had to do this as part of the role. I had to do an original song, and I had to go actually record it, and I had to go work with the guy who wrote it, and work out how I was going to do this scene for this character. Mm-hmm. And so I just was thrown in, having to perform this thing, sing it, and then act it out in front of a cast and crew of like 100 and something people. And it was scary. And I thought, and I had, in the meantime, I had a friend who had been trying to get me into music for quite some time. And so I did this, and it went well. And I remember the reaction when everybody heard the song. They were like, "Is that you singing?" And everyone was just very complimentary. And I just kind of was shocked because I was very embarrassed. But when you're doing something as part of a character in film or TV, it's different. You're not as vulnerable because you're doing it as part of the character.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the bug after that, and I called my friend up. His name is John Davidson. He's a great songwriter himself. And I said, John, I think I want to give this a shot. And he's like, finally. So he and I kind of started to try and put a cover band together, and we would jam and everything. We never really got it to get off the ground. And then I auditioned for John's band. And that's how, it was like my first foray into actually being in a band was over a decade ago. And I auditioned for his band, and I didn't get the job right away.
I was just going to say, we passed.
Sounds like, no. Nah. That's a hard no.
I don't remember why.
Yeah. You already had somebody committed. At least that's what you told me. Anyways.
Uh-oh.
Well, I think we need to dig deeper into that, John.
Yeah.
Wish I could remember. I really don't. But all I remember, we had some gigs coming up around Christmas. Yeah. I remember going,
well, no.
You better call that Cathy chick.
Well, I hadn't heard from them. So, that could have ended everything for me right there because I didn't have a lot of confidence about it. And then I get this call out of the blue, out of nowhere. And they're like, and I was in California. And they're like, we have to do a Christmas gig. Our female singer got fired. Can you come do some songs? And I only knew 3 songs. I didn't know any of the backing vocals, which I was supposed to do.
I'm pretty sure it was like show up in a bikini, if I remember correct, right?
Here we go.
Fine.
Here it is.
Yeah, here it comes.
There it is.
In a bikini.
I showed up. I did the Christmas gig. And, John was a great mentor at teaching me how to front a band.
Yeah. Yeah, you always have to show up in a bikini, and this is, I'm sorry, I hate making you do this, Cathy, but this is how you pay your dues in this band, yeah.
It helps on the vocals.
Yeah. Yes.
It's
very freeing.
Clothing.
Unfortunately for him, he didn't realize he was going to get such an opinionated person.
Yes, yes, wear a parka next time, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. So we started
right into the casino, probably. Right?
Yeah.
Real gigs.
Nice.
Gigs.
Wow. Good.
And I
scary.
I look back and wow, like I kind of sucked.
10 years later.
Make it till you make it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Horrible, but of course,
Yeah, see, I'm very confident with myself. I know I suck. Straight out, I know. It's like I kind of know I sucked in the beginning.
That was okay. Oh, no, never mind.
No, you shut up. It's funny because you came into it, like you said, you went right to gigs. I'm sure that both John and Ken can sit back and go, I remember my first gig was this frickin' high school talent show or, some party a friend was throwing. And
right.
It just totally was. But to us, the first time somebody applauds your music, that's it. I was hooked immediately. I think I was like 10. My uncle had a band that played 5 nights a week. He had me come down, and I did Wipeout, and I was just, and everybody's like, that kid just played Wipeout. I was supposed to be this drumming prodigy. Yeah, right. No, it was just 10 years old. That was what sold the performance, you know. But to me, I was like, I want to do this. I want to be a musician. What an idiot.
Look at the life I live now.
Look at me. I'm in my basement with a studio.
Well, maybe the same thing is going to happen to you. I always joke that, when I die, I get to heaven and I'm in front of God and he goes, Ken, magician.
Yes. Jesus, you did. Now get behind me. You can't see. You can't be in front. Get behind me.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
We all have those moments.
Yeah.
That we know this is something we want to do. And Cathy, yours came when people applauded you. I think we get that little bit. We're all narcissistic, in a way. We all have that little bit of like.
Yeah.
And I think that's why so much happened during the pandemic. We were all stifled from doing what we were doing. Mm-hmm. We had 130 some odd shows that we canceled that year.
Yeah.
Because, it was at weeks at a time. 2 weeks we'll be back playing. This is only supposed to last 2 weeks. Then 2 weeks and cancel. And then they just tore it all down. And we lost 135 shows that year. And and I'm like,
yeah, we lost. I remember we went through it too.
It's like, what do you do now? So then the creativity, what do we do? Right. And I started a podcast with another musician, and I was like, no shit. And that one sucked. That was a shitty podcast. That sucked. But then we started talking. So why aren't we talking about music? This is what we do.
Right. It's what we love.
Then Jeff and I, and then this took off. So, I mean, this all was born because of the pandemic. But then it's like, now we start playing again, and we're going, when the fuck are we going to have time to do both? It's like, it's
right.
Our families hate it because it's like, every weekend, or it's like this year, New Year's Eve, we have no gig. This is awesome.
I'm okay with it.
It's like, we're not playing. This is awesome. So, that's cool. So you've played, you've got this single that came out. There's room for more, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're working on this single has done, more than I would have ever expected for it being my first single. I think a lot of that is because of Ken being involved. I mean, he's just such a huge talent and producing it. And of course, David Ellefson playing on it, and John's killer guitars. So I feel very blessed that my first original tune was something like this. But we're already working on a second follow-up song, and something it'll be totally different. I mean, I keep saying Now You've Gone is kind of a unicorn. I mean, it had a whole story to it that was not fabricated in any way. I mean, it was a genuine story about Neil Peart, and the passing of him and how much he impacted my life, and also my nephew, who passed away at the age of 18 in a car accident, which is exactly how Neil lost his first daughter. And so that was the connection there. I actually Neil wrote a book about it called Ghostwriter, which actually is in the video as well. I'm holding that book, and I gave that book to my brother when he was going through the first couple of years of losing his son, because there's no other, it's just so hard to wrap your head around something like that. And it was just an attempt to try to understand it, try to find a way to heal, which is what Neil wrote about in the book. And so all of this just came together. And when I wrote the song, I wanted it to be a tribute that didn't bring people down, but that would be hopeful and beautiful at the same time as being honest about what you go through on that journey. And so that was the thought behind it. And Ken was awesome because he really understood that. And he wrote the music. I mean, I wrote the lyrics, and I helped with the, vocals and stuff, but he really did the whole composition.
Right.
And of course, John wrote all the guitar parts. And they both nailed it. And David too, he came in and did his bass parts, and nobody knew he could play Geddy Lee type stuff, and he's playing with his fingers and not a pick, which people were surprised by.
Yeah.
So it just ended up being this really beautiful, just incredible masterpiece of a song, in my opinion. And it's because of I was so blessed to work with such amazing musicians. So,
Ken, who was your influences growing up?
In what aspect? Like producing, writing, singing, drumming? I don't mean to be facetious.
No, it's fine.
Like drumming?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, drumming real quickly, because I know that they're going to have to jump off real quick, and I just kind of want to make sure we focus enough on the song. But I'd say my top three are Buddy Rich, Neil Peart, and John Bonham. And I always, my goal was always to be like like an amalgamation of those three players, because they're totally different. And they're completely, and they're phenomenal for completely different reasons. So I figured, well, if I had elements of all these guys and I fused it into one player, then I, hopefully would be a heck of a player.
Right.
But just getting back to the song real quick, I do want to just point out a couple things. What Cathy said about Dave Ellefson, there is kind of a funny thing there, because I've known David since Megadeath opened for Alice Cooper. I mean, we go back that far. And I didn't even know he could play that way. And I had to call him up and go, hey, I got this song. And can you, it sort of needs a Geddy Lee thing. Can you play like that? I didn't even know that. And so I just wanted to talk briefly about the chemistry that happened. Sure. I think Cathy did like an incredible job delivering like an extremely emotional and very moving vocal part, which is not an easy thing to do in the studio. And she really delivered. And, she hasn't been in the studio a ton of times. So it was really something that she did capture, in my opinion, a magical performance. Also, John just put down some incredible guitars. And every time we started layering something on the song, it just kept going up in a level, like it kept getting better and better and better. And so I just kind of wanted to point out, because I think it is important for everybody to know, it really was the chemistry of everybody working together that really made the song what it is. And I agree that it did turn into something really special. As a producer, I get bored a lot of times with productions where, I have to hear a song from the start to the finish. I probably heard it 250 times, and a lot of times you get bored and you don't ever want to hear it again. And this song in particular, I still love hearing it. I'm still moved by it. And I think that's largely to do with, Cathy's vocals and John's guitar and David's playing, these things all added that emotion to the piece.
Mm-hmm. You saw it organically, just started to gel.
Exactly. Yeah, it was very organic. And I don't think, I think that is the way the best music occurs. I think when you're trying to force it or you're trying to manufacture it, I think that's always a losing battle. And I think we were all very fortunate that this is the way this worked out. And I think with this group of people, it really did create something, in my opinion, it did create something special. And so far, it seems like fans definitely agree with that as well.
I think you can hear that in any artist that put together. Mm-hmm. When we talked to Jason Bittner, and he was saying how when they wrote they each wrote their part. There wasn't like one person saying, "This is what I want." It's like we collectively put this all together, and you could hear that back in the Overkill days. You can hear each individual, and I mean Jason being another great drummer out there that plays with his heart. You can hear individuals blossom rather than just one note across the board. It's like, well, then this is definitely a Metallica song because this is the drums, this is the guitar. It's always going to be that way, and they get pigeonholed into a sound. But when you allow people their own creativity, I think it, like I said, it's organic. It just flows. John, your background as far as your influences that help toward the song. I mean, obviously Rush being one of them.
Yes, definitely. My mother was a professional pianist and pipe organist for church my entire life. So I grew up under her piano, listening to her play. It was my main influence. She played the violin too. Mm-hmm. So there was never a question if I was going to be a musician or not. I wanted to be a professional football player, but that didn't work out at my 5'7" height. Not quite built for it. But so that was a lot of my influence there. And then the wow moment I think you asked about earlier was my sister introduced me to George Benson music, and I was a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. Mm-hmm. Later in life, I worked on George Benson's guitars a lot when I first started, and still up to this day.
Oh, cool.
In my shop, and I met him, and I remember thinking, this is weird. Like, I was thinking this guy was great. When I was 12 years old. Yeah. I was totally into metal and stuff back then too. My first guys I played with are now in a band called Sacred Reich. That was my first band. Oh, wow. I kind of had a part in putting that thing together because we played together, and we did the talent show freshman year in high school, like you mentioned that people do. Non-forgettable gig there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically where my background was. And then the other one is Bruce Springsteen was a huge, I loved him through the 70s and early 80s. And then again, I met his guitar player. I work on his guitar, Nils Lofgren.
Right.
And I remember the first time, a couple of times I met him, I'm like, that's just weird. I absolutely wanted your job. Like the majority of my life.
And now,
it's very weird.
Now they're like,
you
can have it.
Right.
See ya.
Gotta run.
Right. Oh my God.
Yes.
Well, they say don't meet your idols.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was a good one. There's a couple I met that I didn't. I regret that I met them.
Yes.
We will not mention them.
No, we won't.
No.
Most of the people are very, very cool, and those two people were specifically super nice. George and Nils is just a sweetheart of a guy. But it was awesome.
Cathy, do you think that as the next group of singles come out, are you going to look to your Rolodex and say, okay, let's see if we can collaborate with this one or that one? I mean, you have a large group of people that you work with like the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame inductee dinners and some of the other stuff that you've done with the Rush show and tribute show.
Yeah, I've actually had people reach out to me since this song came out saying, man, I'd love to work with you on your next one or whatever. But I'm very, that's really cool. And I do love the idea. I mean, I'm always one who's open to working with different musicians and different people. But I just, like Ken said, there's just a chemistry that happens, and it's hard enough to work with people that you feel comfortable with, really being able to open up musically, vocally, lyrically, everything, but then also just to have fun with, and people that you like. I mean, that's just a different thing. You don't always get that chemistry. You can think that you like somebody, then you get in and start working with them and it just doesn't click. Right. So, so I, of course, would love it to be the same people on,
you know what they call that, Cathy?
They call it a band.
They call that a band, Cathy. It's called a band.
It's called a band.
I know this is not, something you've done all your life, but that's called a band.
Yeah.
Well, John's stuck with me because we already have a band. Ken, he's been roped in. Five
song deal, yeah.
To the second
verbal contract. It's a verbal contract.
Verbal contract. Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep saying it's like he got caught in quicksand. He can't get out now.
Right.
But I mean, we'll see. It's a special project. That's what we call it. It's a special project because everybody, of course, David has Kings of Thrash and Metal Allegiance, and Ken's got Flotsam and Jetsam and Fifth Angel and Great White. I mean, we've got our stuff is just going gangbusters right now. So we've all got other projects. Yeah. But I think we'll continue to just see where this goes, and as long as it's fun, work on some other music. So
that's awesome.
Cool. Cathy, I know you guys have to go, but Ken, can you stick around for a few minutes?
I can stick around for a few more minutes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now I can tell you the truth.
Those two liars. They have not given me back my dog.
That's right.
They've had him captive since the beginning of the song.
Yep.
I'm really afraid of what he's going to say when we log off here.
So what we're going to do is we'll roll out like we typically do.
Okay.
And then we'll come back to Ken, and then we'll pick it up as a second part. How's that?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having us. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No, that
was fun.
For having us. It's a lot of fun.
Our privilege.
Yes, it definitely was, and I'm glad we got to finally do this. Yep. We'll be out, like I said, out in California during the NAMM show. I will look you guys up, and I can't. No, I won't be. Those guys aren't doing the stuff this year. Tom and his group are not going to be performing the Metal Allegiance show or the.
Oh, they're not. I thought they were. We'll have to see. I don't know.
Oh, well, if they are, maybe they're doing it with a different singer. I don't know. Not touching that one. No. I'll let you figure that out on your own.
I don't know either, you guys. I don't know.
Good job, Mike.
Yeah. So we'll look you up when we're out there. And thank you so much for being on the show. And we'll have you back on every release of.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll just and anything else that you're promoting.
Yes.
Come on back. So,
awesome.
Please
Sounds
do.
good. Yeah, ask Ken about his current drum project. It's cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
All right, let's just roll out, and then we'll
just keep rolling.
Yeah, we'll just keep rolling, and we'll just splice it
Sounds
in there.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks you.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Don't have too much fun without us.
Okay, have a great evening, you guys.
And they're gone.
And they're gone.
Okay, done.
We'll just do this ending now.
Yeah.
You've been listening to The Good,
The Band.
The Ugly. I'm Big Papa.
I'm Jeff.
That's Ken Mary.
That's Ken Mary.
Hey,
Ken
Mary.
We want to thank both John and Cathy for being on.
Yes.
We want to thank our sponsors, Sharky's Event Center,
DJ Life's the Beach,
Uncle Jimmy's Local Live Music,
The Print Shop Underground,
Blackheart Tattoo.
Right there.
Wow.
Got to get it paid for.
Yep.
And anybody else who gives us free shit for doing this.
That's right.
Remember what we always say
Be nice to each other.
Don't be a dick.
Right on.
Peace, guys.
And we're back.
Yeah.